Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We're back on the dev server and it's time to have a look at some things that have changed in the last few updates to it. This is the fourth iteration of the dev server and probably the last, since the dev server will be closing tomorrow. So if you want to get on the dev server, this is the time to do it. Sometimes they do extend the time, but usually not. So it would be worth, if you want to see stuff, to go on it right now. So in this video, we'll go over all the little things which are around on the dev server, which are additional stuff that has changed. The other part to also talk about is if you have enjoyed the content of the dev server, let me know if there's anything you would like to see done differently for the next dev server, and also if you could subscribe to the channel, that would also be very kind. So let's start off. We have the HSTV-l. This vehicle obviously got itself the 76mm XM884, but you couldn't use it previously. Now you can. So it looks like this is fully coming to the HSTV-l in the next major update. It's a pretty standard HEVT. You don't have tracking or anything like that, so you do have to use the Mark 1 eyeball, but overall it works pretty well. I wouldn't say it's generally a bad round, and also you can just kind of, hit targets with it. You do have to hit in front of the targets, which is pretty standard for rounds like this, but you can see even with just generic aiming, it doesn't have a tracer, which is a little bit annoying. So seeing the round come in can be a bit of a problem. But the actual armor, or the arming distance on it, is 500 meters, and the trigger radius is 8 meters. So it should be pretty good in order to destroy targets. Just need a little bit of practice with it. And the main issue is, of course, the fact that the HSTV-l doesn't get a ton of ammunition. So the real question is, how much do you actually dedicate to a round like this over the APHE SDS? I know people always talk about the APHE SDS not being very good, but at the same time, it is your only tank killing round. So if you're going to add in stuff like this, HEVT, do you bring like 5? Do you bring, I don't know, 2? I suppose it depends how confident you are with it. So that is now fully implemented. Looks like it's going to be coming in the next major update. The next thing to talk about is the Chinese vehicles. A lot of them have got a ton of changes, starting off with the Al-Khalid. The Al-Khalid is finally fully modeled, so it has all of its armor in. You can see the composite armor right here on the hull. It also has the composite armor on the turret as well, and the FY2 ERA. So it has FY2 here, which is the ERA, which gives it a bit of kinetic protection alongside the chemical protection. The gun hasn't changed. It still has all the same rounds and everything, but it actually works now. So that's the main thing to note. This vehicle is very similar to the MBT 2000 that you have here. It even has the same ERA. The only difference between them really is where some of those ERA blocks are. You can see it loses some from the front here, and that really much sucks. It does have some FY2 on the sides though, so overall I would say this one has incredibly similar protection to the MBT 2000, and if you're looking to pick it up, then it'll be a pretty good purchase. Then the J-10A, they have actually fixed its engine, so instead of being an American one, it's the Saturn AL31FN. So this one is now close to what its proper performance would be. So if you actually want to test it out, this would be the time to do it. The JF-17 also got changed. They actually added the pilot. So now you can actually see how good the RWR is, the AN ALR 400. It also has CCIP for all of its general stuff, plus CCRP for bombs, which is huge for the vehicle. An incredibly positive look at what this pilot will have access to. You also have the same radar as before, and also, of course, the Klimov, the MiG-29 engine, I believe it is. So overall, the secondary armaments haven't changed on either of the vehicles. The only thing that's changed is now we have updated, I suppose, look at what these vehicles will have access to. The CV90-35NL, which is the new CV90 coming in for the French, the Dutch one specifically, you can see the flag here, it has been lowered in BR to 9.7, which is very positive because it means that now it has a lineup. You have the AMX-40, You have the Roland, the Vextra that you can run with it, all incredibly positive. It still keeps the armor, which is on the side of it. You can see it has slightly changed though. Instead of it just being 50mm, they have actually made it a variable thickness armor, and also it does have the Roof Pro composite armor on it too, on the top. So it is slightly heavier than the DK, but it also is slightly more armored. We'll have to see how that actually works for it. It has lost its track IRST though, so you cannot track airplanes with it, and it doesn't get HEVT, so it's going to be much more of a ground vehicle once again. The other thing to also note is it does keep its LWS though. So if you're looking for the differences between this and the DK over here, the DK doesn't have as much armor on the side or on the roof, so the NL has a little bit more protection on it. You can see the Roof Pro and also the Side Pro, and also this gets an LWS. So that's the major difference. There's nothing huge, basically. The Spike Missile, they did change, but now they do have an updated stat card too, and finally for the Puma VJTF, it is actually here instead of not really being shown. So you can see these are the stats of it: 45-second missile guidance time, 20-kilometer lock range, which is hilarious, and also at the same time 180 meters per second with 700 millimeters of penetration. This vehicle right now has also got its modeled primary weapon for the Spike LR2, so they have fully put it in. It will have 4 missiles, so 2 here and then also 2 at the base here. Before, it said it had 4, but it didn't really show where they were. I'm sure this could actually get more missiles in the future, but right now that's all it gets. But now you can hit these things. I don't know if it'll destroy the crew if you actually hit this. My guess is it probably wouldn't, since it is external to the vehicle. Instead, it would just kind of hit the ammo. But then again, at the same time, as a person who's played a lot of the Dado, maybe that's not the case. Maybe it isn't as good at protecting the crew. But yeah, so that's fully modeled now. The Japanese vehicles, there's a bunch of them, including the Type 74 and the TKX, which got their engines named, which is really cool in the game. So you can see here for the Type 74, you got the Mitsubishi 10ZF 22WT, and then also the TKX. There's a few of the vehicles that do also have names, but I thought I would just show these ones just to show you the effort they're putting into putting in the kind of, names and also what things are in the X-ray. Remember, you can actually now filter stuff, which is really cool for the vehicles if you want to see specific parts of the X-ray. Another thing I also want to point out with Japan, if you go over to War Thunder DMM right now, they actually have an article which talks about the voice actors which voice acted all of the Japanese voices in the game. They're all veterans. They all served in the Japanese Defense Forces, and also have some pretty interesting thoughts and histories. So it's well worth checking that out. It's always nice to see the human side of War Thunder. Another part of the game is, of course, the APHE stuff, right? So the APHE testing is on the dev server now. If you want to check it out, it's in the Events and Tournaments tab. You can find it right here. But also, I have been doing a bunch of testing with it over the last period of time, and people have asked me my opinion on it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit more testing of it, but generally my opinion is positive for it. I think it brings it in line with a bunch of the other nations and also shells that are in the game, which for me is the most important to bring in some parity. So this, actually, you can test the APHE damage. So this is the old one, so what it's going to be, or what it is right now. And then you can do the proposed changes, which all you have to do is click this and turn it on, and then it will show you what it does. Now, the general changes are pretty simple. It does more penetration through the vehicle. So it's able to do more damage in a straight line, but it does more damage in its secondary fragments, but in more of a kind of cross shape instead of in the diagonal areas. So you'll do less damage when it comes to its extremities, but more damage in a straight line. You can see here, shooting this part, Wait, let's just angle it a bit better. You can see here, shooting this part, it takes out some crew members, right? And then it also takes out the transmission, so going in a straight line. Here, it takes out 4 crew members and the engine in the back, showing that it goes really far in. Whereas the old APHE, it doesn't penetrate as much in the back, and instead will just explode the crew. So technically, your crew survivability is slightly higher in a lot of cases, but it will penetrate more through, meaning that it will do more damage to components. So overall, I like this change. Personally, you can see there it's penetrating straight through. Means that, you know, crew skills have a bit more of an effect, but also at the same time, it means that there's more parity between this shell and the APHE and many others that are in the game. Because right now APHE is just crazy compared to everything else. So yeah, if you want to test out the APHE test, make sure to do it on the dev server. There's limited time, but it's a good thing to do. Right now, with the Su-24M, for some reason before it said it was unspaded. Now it's spaded now, so I'm guessing whatever bug was there has been fixed, so we don't have to worry about that. For naval and also for general stuff, there are some new vehicles in this dev server. You have the Sea Fury FP51, which is very similar to the one in the British tech tree. You also have the Seahawk Mark 50 Premium, which is a Dutch vehicle, which has come in. You can find the Seahawk right here as a premium, and also the Sea Fury FP51 in the French tree on the left-hand side. The Mark 50 is exactly the same as the Mark 100, apart from the tail is slightly different. Everything else is the same, including armaments, so just look at the tail. That's literally the difference. The Mark 100 has a slightly taller tail. Isn't that wonderful? Other vehicles that are put in, the good old Surprise, which is the River class used by the Free French, but this is actually the Croix de Lorraine class, since they renamed it, of course. There's also some other coastal vehicles, the Arras, which is the transport ship, which they added guns to. You can see here that it's actually fully modeled now, so it's ready to go. You don't have to worry about it looking kind of bland. It's fully textured, which is wonderful. And then also for Italy, they got the Mass 441, which is what looks like a fishing boat with a 40mm on it. And then the Fremantle, or Fremantle, which is the Australian vehicle, which is coming in. This is a 1980s boat, by the way. So all of you guys asking for modern naval vehicles, I hope you're playing this one, because it's pretty damn modern. Then the other part is the JDAMs. So we know that the JDAMs are coming to a bunch of vehicles, but they're only on a few right now. At the moment, they've actually changed the loadout for the JDAMs. So for the GBU-38, for the AV8V Plus, which is, you know, the only vehicle that it's on right now, it only gets 4 of them, where previously it got way more. This is the same with the AV8B and A, so they have massively reduced the amount of JDAMs that are available right now. Don't know if that's going to stay or if they're going to keep it that way, which kind of sucks. There is some new animations for missiles in Naval too. So the Germans, with the Bernau, there is a new animation for the Strela, but I can't really show it to you because of the fact that the Strela doesn't really work against props. So yeah, it looks a little bit better. And then the Dougie. If you don't know the Dougie, the USS Douglas, this vehicle has the RIM-24A missiles. They've also added a little animation for the missile launches too. So basically, it looks a little bit better. You can see the missiles there, but then they go down, and then the missile appears, and then they go back up again. So very similar to some of the other missile machines, you get to see a little bit of an animation instead of just kind of waiting and them appearing. Instead, they will go down and then go up. So another nice little animation for the vehicle. And that brings the extras to a close for now. There are a few other things, but I'll try and cover them in the data mines if I can. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. See you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.